Welcome to Trading with Rich, and this is another video about moving to the Philippines and living in the Philippines. So, you want to bank in the Philippines. Now, you may have a pension, you may have something coming from Social Security and having the money sent directly to your bank account here, or you may have money sent to the bank account in the USA, and now you want to transfer that money to the Philippines for the least amount of cost and the safest way. As far as safety goes, it seems that all the different programs that are out there are pretty safe. I haven't lost money on anything transferring money directly from the USA to the Philippines. Now, sometimes it's taken as long as 10 days to clear, but most of the time they're immediate, especially when you're using some of the quick services like Remitly or World Remit or the old MoneyGram. MoneyGram. I've never used Western Union because I just thought the fees were not to my liking, but I have used all those others, and right now I'm going to give you the answer up front. What's the best way for me to transfer money from the USA to the Philippines? Well, I use my Philippine National Bank that my wife and I have a joint account, and we send money directly on the dollar account. We have a dollar account, we have a peso account, and we have an ATM account where they only allow pesos. So I send money directly to the Philippines with the dollars, and I pay the fee up front. And I'm going to do a spreadsheet for you and show you the companies that I've used transferring money over, and I just used a $3,000 amount on each one to give you an idea of how much it costs for upfront fees that they tell you about. And then there's the Forex fee, where they actually, and it's on all of them, it says down below, we do make money on the foreign exchange rate, and if you want to know more, contact us. The reason they do that is because the foreign exchange rate can change by the hour, and at the moment they send it in to you, you kind of got to know how much the current exchange rate is, and the exchange rate is different on different channels. The only way you really know is if you walk into the bank and say, okay, take $1,000 and put it into pesos. And when they do that, you'll know what the exchange rate is at the bank. The way we do it is we go into the bank and we tell them, give me $1,000. They give us $1,000 in crisp $100 USA bills, and we walk outside and go to one of the malls, or we'll go to a money exchanger on the street, in maybe the Divisoria area there here in Cagayan de Oro, and we always tend to get anywhere from 0.2 of a peso to 0.6 of a peso higher than we would have gotten at the bank. Now, when you're banking in the Philippines, don't get all caught up in the fact they want to know what you're doing with your money. They will constantly ask you, what is this money for? And we can't give it to you until you give us a reason. So especially when I'm online banking and they ask me, what is this money for? I'm like, well, of course, it's for rent. It's for groceries. So I'll put rent, groceries on there, and on different ones, like every other one. One's for rent, one's for groceries. And that's because they're worried about money laundering and money coming across into the Philippines to support the drug trade. So I'm 100% behind it. I have nothing to hide. I'll let you know. When we transferred large amounts of money, I told them that was to buy a car. I bought the car in cash, and yes, it was almost $20,000. And please, let us have our money out of the bank account because we need to go pay for the car. And they were fine, as long as they knew that you were going to go buy a car. But, large amounts of money like that should be questioned, and in their banking system, they will check that. So there are a lot of different ways that you can transfer money from the USA to the Philippines. The way I do it is I transfer money from Capital One. I also have another account at First Midwest. So, I'm not going to really go into too much detail, but this is what the Philippine National Bank Internet Banking mobile account is, and it really doesn't matter what are in my balances. You can't get into my accounts, but they have ways to transfer the funds. You can go into other BNP accounts and transfer, from one account to another one. Something you need to know is they do not allow dollar ATM cards, and the ATM card you can use as a debit card anywhere you want. What I like is that I can use my Capital One Saver card and just tell the person at the register I want to use pesos. Just make sure you always say peso, because if they try to do it in dollar, they're going to make money off your foreign exchange rate, and they're going to pull some pretty favorable rates on their part to themselves. So always use your American card, and usually they're called a world card. That's what my Capital One and my First Midwest is called. But as you can see, the Philippine National Bank internet banking looks a lot like you would see in other in other countries. They are much, and this is 200,000 pesos. Don't think I have $200,000 in there, but 200,000 pesos. The savings account down here, the second one, is because I have to carry so much in the bank to be able to use my ATM. So you transfer money over, then you just withdraw as you're using your ATM card. We don't use that very much, so I only have 69,000, which is about $1,400 in there. But anyway, I use the Capital One, and I tell the Philippine National Bank in Los Angeles, I have a person there that I email, and I tell Rolf, hey, every month send me $2,500, and he does. And he sends the $2,500 over into my Philippine dollar account, and then we pull it whenever we need it, and we'll take it out and take it to the money exchanger and exchange some money. I also have a First Midwest, and the only reason I bring that up is, I'm domiciled out of South Dakota, and it's always best to have two bank accounts. If one goes down, let's say my Capital One, for some reason, couldn't get a hold of me on my American phone number, and they, went ahead and, froze my account, I would have money over in another account just in case. Now, that has never happened to me, but I've heard of situations like that, and it used to be you had to call the banks and let them know that you're going to be out of the country, and for how long and all that. But now they don't do that anymore at either one of my banks, Capital One or First Midwest. Now, Capital One, a little easier to deal with when you're pulling money and doing things. First Midwest is really all over their fraud prevention, and they'll constantly, when I try to use my world card, they're constantly trying to send me text messages here in the Philippines. Is this you? Authorized, and tell us what your last transaction was. Capital One will do it when they see something that looks odd. But I applaud both companies for their fraud prevention, and you can't be too safe. Speaking of that, one thing you want to do anytime that you're banking is use a VPN. I have ExpressVPN. I don't get paid anything to suggest you use them, but I've used 3 different ones in the past. I was happy with all 3, but this one seems to be the best for me. And this encrypts your banking so that people can't go in and try to break into your bank account. I've never had anybody broke into my bank account, but about 15 years ago with Capital One, I did have somebody get a hold of my business credit cards in Germany and ring up about $15,000 very fast. And it, obviously Capital One got all over it, and they were even using phone cards at the time and putting it back to their home phone. So I told the Capital One what the phone card number was, and they went and tracked them down, and they caught the people in Germany. Now, at First Midwest, someone from China tried to use my world card to buy about $500. We caught that immediately. It wasn't even sent to them. There was also an international fee. First Midwest took care of it 100%. I didn't pay anything. Same with Capital One. I didn't pay anything. So I've been very happy with both of these, and that was last year when that happened with the personal account there at First Midwest. So that happened, like I said, I think it was 15 years ago with Capital One. But it taught me that VPNs are a good idea so that they don't jump into your bank accounts. But be very careful with your bank cards also, because that type of thing can happen at any time. So I'm going to jump into the spreadsheet, and I'm going to show you my past experiences with transferring money to the Philippines, because I didn't always do it through the banks, which I'm doing now, but I will show you what it cost me when I did do it. Okay, so here's a little spreadsheet I did, just to kind of show you what my past experience over the last year has been with sending money through different banking outlets. And right below this little spreadsheet, I've got the Philippine National Bank chart for their upfront fees. So they'll charge you $10 for up to $1,000, and $20 for up to $2,000, and $25 for up to $3,000. And then they start to give you a break. Instead of being $50 for $5,000 or even $30 for $4,000, they start giving you a break here right at the $3,000 mark. So they're giving you a $5 break there, then a $10 break there, then a $15 break there, then a $20 break, and then a $25 break, and then obviously a $30 break there. But anything over $8,000, which I try to do, I try to send it in more than $8,000 increments now. I pay $60 for anything above $8,000, so you're paying less than 1%, and that's dollar to dollar. So you don't have to worry about the Forex. You just worry about the Forex once you're there. You want to catch a good week when the difference between the American dollar and the Philippine peso is good. Pull your money and pull some cash out. But that's the chart. I just went ahead and put it on there for reference to you. But here's the real meat of the story. This is an example of the Forex and the fees, and these are just examples for pass the SEI test for the Series 6 exam. So I do know enough to throw out a disclaimer that says this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you what to do. You're not paying for this particular example. I'm just giving it to you so you can see what it's like to bank in the Philippines. So do your own research and double check my results. But here's how it works out. Like I said in the beginning of the video, the answer is, in my estimate, do the Philippine National Bank dollar account and spend dollars to dollars. Send dollars from there to here. Now you're going to pay an upfront fee, but folks, you're never going to give money from U.S. to the Philippines for free. It's going to cost you something. So on my dollar account, it costs, if I want to do $3,000, it costs me $25. And that's going to cost, when you take 25 out of the 3,000, it comes up to, right about 0.8%. So that's an upfront fee of 0.8. Now I don't have to worry about the Forex, the foreign exchange rate, because as I said, I'll do that later and I'll get the best that I possibly can for that particular day. So the difference is zero. Now, here's what I used to do. I used to send money from Capital One directly over to the Philippine peso account, and I would tell the bank in Los Angeles, even though I was in South Dakota, or I might be in Texas, or I might be in Oklahoma City. When I'm over in the U.S., I'm bouncing around. Wherever I'm at, I tell the bank in Los Angeles, and Rolf, who's fantastic, customer service is great with Philippine National Bank. Rolf in Los Angeles will take the money out of my account and send it to my wife, who is over here in the Philippines, where this is where I'm at now. I'm in the Philippines. So how much did it cost me? Well, I was always trying to send, on average, I'd send $2,000 to $3,000. But I just use the example of $29.99 to keep it under $3,000, and I received $29.02. Why was that such a big difference between sending it to a dollar account? Well, as with all bank outlets, they all make money on the Forex. Now, they kind of, especially the little remittance centers in Chicago and Dallas, they kind of fake in my opinion, they're faking out the Filipinos, because the Filipinos think, oh, well, I'm only paying a $30 upfront fee, or I'm only paying $7. Seafood City over there, my relatives, oh, you're stupid. You could be sending this to the Philippines for $1,400 for $4 every time, and all they require is $2,500 at a time, and they only charge $14. And I'll tell you what, trying to explain to my relatives sometimes what the foreign exchange rate difference is, is a little bit of a challenge. So a good example there is Seafood City, which all of my relatives use, and now they're wanting to figure out how to set up bank accounts. Now they've seen what I do. They're actually paying $113. They think they're paying $14, but they're paying 10 times more than that because the exchange rate, there's a hidden fee of $99.97 because the difference between what they send you in pesos compared to what the on the street value is, and every time I sent money, I always had a relative here standing next to a money changer telling me how much the rate was that day. So I knew, and it was always pretty much the same, about 1.5 pesos difference. So if the exchange was 48, then they were giving me 46.4. Right now the exchange rate is 50.2, and if I try to send money, it's gonna cost the 1.6 through Seafood City, but it's only going to cost 0.8 if I go peso to peso. Now, I don't really mind paying peso to peso that much when I just want the money to go directly into the pesos. But yes, it is a $96 total fee instead of a $25 fee. But I'll have to admit, a couple times I did it just because I didn't want to go try to exchange out on the street, and I didn't want my wife to have to go mess with it. So I just put the pesos directly into her peso account and said, every now and then I'll do that. But anyway, through Remitly, I found that they were pretty darn good, and they had an upfront fee of $7. And they told you right up front, we make money off of the Forex. So when I sent $3,000 through them, the Forex fee was $91. Their upfront fee was $7. So the total was $98 in fees, which is about 3.3%. Now, First Midwest, which you would think I've been banking with them for a long time, got some funds in there. They're making money off of my checking account. You think you get a deal from them, but no, it was 3%. They just told me right up front, our fee up front is 3%. So it was an $89.97 upfront fee. And then when I checked out their difference, well, one day it was 0.8 of a peso difference, and then the next day when I checked, it was a different day. It was like 2 weeks later. I went in there and they gave me a rate, and it was 1.8. Almost 2.5, a little more than two times the fee for the Forex rate. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because I don't think they really knew what they were doing. They did the second time I asked them, but it ended up being with the upfront fee and the Forex fee, it ended up being a $140 fee to send it through First Midwest. Now, truth in advertising, I never sent any money from First Midwest to the Philippines. I just wasn't going to pay that much. And it ended up being a 4.7% fee transaction. What I do is if I need money on a First Midwest, I just send it from First Midwest to Capital One, and then I tell the Philippine National Bank to pull the money out of Capital One, and I do it through the dollars. So I save about $115 for every $3,000. I'm paying $25 instead of $140. So you got to really know what you're doing because these can add up to a lot of money over the years, especially if you're transferring money every month. As I said, Seafood City ended up being about $113, and then I used to use MoneyGram, especially for a lot smaller charges. Now, it was a lot higher than this, but if you do $3,000, they do cut you a break. It's now World Remit, and it's not terrible. 4.1% is almost as good as a peso, dollar to peso going into the Philippines, but definitely not as good as the dollar account. But when you're looking at what First Midwest would charge you, or what Remitly would charge you, or what a remittance center, you don't have a bank account because you are going to need a bank account in the Philippines. Well, no, you don't. Not with Seafood City. You can send it to Cebuano. You can send it to a whole. They got some pawn shops you can send it to. So there is the convenience of Remitly and Seafood City and World Remit, a lot of MoneyGram, even Western Union, where you can send this money anywhere and somebody can walk up with an ID and show their ID and collect the money right away. So it's very, very handy. You're going to pay for it, $100 more on a $3,000 transaction, but it's very, very handy. If you don't, if you're not in a hurry, because Philippine dollar to dollar usually transfers within 2 days, and then it's in my bank account within 7 days, and I can follow it all along, but they like to go through and clear it and put it on hold. It's always, whenever I do it on Friday, I've always got it in the bank by the next Friday, and I never cut myself close where I have to have that money tomorrow. But if I needed it tomorrow, I would use Remitly, just to tell you, because that's what I've done, especially when I'm sending money to relatives from over there. If I was going to send something to one of Elma's relatives, I would use Remitly. And I did, and was very happy with them. Their service was fantastic. So was World Remit. When I did MoneyGram, their service was fantastic. And Seafood City, it was immediate. That money was in my bank account within 10 seconds because they had a direct hookup, directly to Philippine National Bank. So anyway, that is the chart that I have right there below. I would highly recommend that you use an Express VPN, or you just use any VPN so that you can encrypt your internet transactions. I'd highly recommend that you do dollar to dollar from any bank in the U.S. to any bank in the Philippines. And to tell you the truth, I probably would go with BDO if I was going to set it up again. But I've had Philippine National Bank for, over 5 years, and I just don't feel like switching. But BDO has a lot more ATM machines around the city of Cagayan de Oro, and it looks like BDO leaves their bank hours open a little more. Also, the lines at Philippine National Bank can get to be quite long. So when you look at that, Union Bank, we were there the other day, my gosh, the line was 3 hours. They were handing out numbers to get into your bank. I'm American. I don't have the patience to sit in a chair outside in the heat for 3 hours to be able to go in and do some banking. We needed to send a bank wire over to Cebu real quick, and they wouldn't take. We found out from Philippine National Bank they wouldn't take anything less than 100,000 pesos. So unless you're sending $2,000, you're not bank wiring anything. We only needed to send $300. So we went over and used one of the services there, like MoneyGram at the mall, and it only cost us 500 pesos, which was $10. Cost us $10 to send that. Now that's kind of high for a $385 bank wire, but we needed to get it there immediately for my Visa, my permanent Visa card. They needed the second payment for that thing to process with the NBI, and sometimes you just got to pay the fee. $10, not a big deal, but getting around using the banks in the Philippines, it's a little different than what you're used to in the U.S. The ATM machines run out of money all the time around here. The ATMs are down a lot. Sometimes when there's only, especially if you go to a resort, be careful, take plenty of money with you, because those lines at that ATM machine can be huge. They're pulling out $5 at a time out of their ATM machine. They don't mind waiting in line with 50 people to get $5 out of an ATM machine. I've seen it so many times. And I've even seen it in the malls here. We have 5 large malls, and every now and then, I'll see lines there at the BDO machine, and there'll be 10 people waiting to pull money out of the BDO. The Philippine National Bank machine never really seems to be busy, but I'd give it, maybe 30% of the time it's broke down. And kind of handy to pull money when you're walking by it, but don't count on it. So that's what I have for you. There's the spreadsheet. By the way, I'll put a link in the description for classes about trading with Rich, where I show people how to trade stocks and do calls and puts in those stocks and earn money. I'm all about saving. I'm all about saving money any way you can, and I'm all about earning money on a weekly basis. So this is Trading with Rich. how to bank in the Philippines. Hope you have a great week, and I hope this information was helpful. If it was, please like and subscribe. Thank you. August 28th. Oh, no, it's August 29th. August 29th, 2021.